Brynne Kennedy, CEO of Topia. Welcome to Stanford and to Systems Leadership. Appreciate your coming. Tell us a little bit about your company. What exactly are you doing and what's the market need that you're addressing?
Sure. Topia is a global mobility solution that the world's largest companies use to manage and move all of their mobile employees. So we unify all the different aspects of supporting employees who are mobile around the world. And by doing so, we enable a lot of the future of work strategies that companies have today.
What are the issues that people who are moving face that your company helps make easier for them?
So it's important to look at it with the two stakeholders that we serve. So there's the organization, the HR folks who use our product, finance, et cetera, and then the individual employee themselves. So for the organization, historically, they've managed global mobility in a really fragmented and spreadsheet-oriented way. Typically, they interact with up to 8 different systems in order to move an employee. And so data is fragmented, processes are manual, and therefore they can't leverage that data to do anything more interesting from a future of work perspective. For the individual employee, it's a real consumer problem. They need to set their expectations about new locations where they're going to. They need to almost project manage their own experience for them and their family. And again, today that's done in a very, very fragmented way and a very logistics-oriented way rather than an engagement way.
How is the rise of a more global labor force and a more mobile labor force impacting your business and the need that you're seeing? Is demand shooting up at an astronomical level, or what's changing?
Yeah, it's really a really interesting question. So there's always been corporate relocation. There's always been a 5 to 10% of a company that relocates or goes on an expatriate assignment. Traditionally, it's been done very transactionally. It's sort of been west to east, and it's been this idea of kind of getting a big package as you go to a different location. What we've seen over the last 5 years, and actually accelerating and will continue to over the next 5 to 10, is this idea that an organization is fundamentally mobile. People work remotely and they commute to an office. They do long distance commuting across borders, across states, across countries. They travel in a recurring fashion. They do projects for a month in different offices. Teams need to form across borders and across locations, and then they unform and form in a different way. And so what you see, if you look at the percentage of mobile employees, that is dramatically growing, but people are moving in a very different way than that kind of 5 to 10% has historically.
Are the types of industries you're serving changing? You know, when I used to run a division of GE, we saw people move on. We were a global company, an industrial company playing all over the world.
Yeah.
Are you seeing different types of organizations have a need for your services than perhaps in the past?
Yeah, it's interesting. We have a very kind of cross-sector business. It's more driven by stage and footprint than it is by segment particularly. So I would say most major enterprises today, so we look at as 5,000 employees plus, most of those companies are fundamentally reinventing what their workforce looks like. They're thinking about the 3 trends that we see touching the workforce. They're thinking about AI, how it's replacing a lot of jobs, and therefore they're reskilling employees and deploying them into new jobs, often in new locations. They're thinking about different demographics of the workforce. Skills shortages in some locations, still skills surpluses in others, and millennials moving people between locations to solve that. And they're running organizations that are complex, that are global, and that have business objectives that are not demarcated by borders. And so what that means is you have an asset of employees that need to be moved almost as fungible sort of chess pieces between different locations and projects in order to enable business objectives and to retain them and build career paths. And so that's what Topia does. We're the infrastructure that enables all of the sexy stuff around the current workforce.
How do you sell your product? Who's the buyer and the decision maker inside of the organization? And I assume some of the people who are being impacted by this, some are impacted positively and some are impacted negatively.
Yeah.
What's that dynamic like?
Yeah, so we sell to the HR organization. We sell to multiple different levels. So there is a department in companies called Global Mobility. They have been responsible for the movement of staff for decades. Often that is perceived pretty transactionally, aligned with how the space used to be. And so we partner with them and we implement the Topia software solution to give them the infrastructure so that in many instances the global mobility team can become much more strategic around global planning and managing the global workforce. But another part of our sale is often interacting with the head of HR or the VP of Talent or Benefits, and really helping them to plan what their 3-year workforce transformation looks like and how Topia can be the infrastructure to enable that transformation.
Or any of those people, do they ever feel threatened, the fact that their jobs are changing and maybe they don't want it to?
Yeah, it's definitely a transformational sale. So there's different levels of the organization that are impacted in different ways depending on how they decide to use Topia. And so the really important thing when doing a transformational sale and impacting different people's roles in different ways is to start from the vision for the future. So where do we as an organization in the C-suite, and I say we by me plus customer, where do we want to get to in a 5-year period? What does that look like? What does it look like to have a truly agile organization, an agile workforce where you can easily move talent between locations? And so getting kind of that buy-in, that's the goal, it's organizational agility. And then working backwards, okay, where are we today, and how do we take steps in a transformational way to get you to agility? So we say we help you move from mobility, transactional mobility, to agility as an organization. That is a journey that, by definition, will change people's jobs, impact some people in different ways. But if everyone's marching toward the same goal, and then you can, from a buying and implementation perspective, chunk it in particular ways to get there, that's where it becomes easier to digest and very successful for the organization.
All right, so in some respect, you're at the tip of the arrow, right? You're seeing how organizations are evolving. What do you think is going to be coming in the next 5 to 10 years that maybe isn't part of the mainstream of what we're reading about today?
Yeah, it's interesting. So we, for decades, right? Decades and decades, we as a society have had an idea of a linear career. I go into an office, I have a manager, I progress on this organizational ladder, and if I don't like that, I maybe go to another company, or maybe I can leapfrog the organizational ladder if I go to another company. The concept of an agile organization completely tears that apart. It's like you do not have a set location, you do not have a set team, you do not have a set annual performance review structure, and you have all sorts of other things that go into that. So what we're going to see is a shift to thinking about an organization as a very different being. You will have people that work there through employment, people in the gig economy, and kind of this constant movement of resources between different locations that it really ultimately enables business objectives and enables fulfillment for that individual employee.
It's really interesting to see how Topia is really helping to give organizations the ability to shape the future of work in a positive way for all people, but also understanding that is it a transformational opportunity and a transformational experience for the people who are there. And it's interesting to see how you are all working with your organizations to try to make them successful.
Yeah.
Brynne, thank you so much for coming to
Thank
Stanford.
you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Rob.